Good morning and welcome to this morning's reflection, and it is good to begin the day again together as we stop to take a moment to consider Jesus, the Jesus of the Gospels. And that Jesus spent a lot of time with people that the Gospels described as the poor, the blind, the lame, the lepers, the hungry, sinners, prostitutes, tax collectors, the persecuted, the downtrodden, the captives, those possessed by unclean spirits, all who labour and are heavy burdened, the rabble who know nothing of the law, the crowds, the little ones, the least, the last, and the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In short, Jesus hung out with ragamuffins. Obviously, his love for failures and nobodies was not an exclusive love, because that would become, I suppose, merely substituting one class of prejudice for another. He related with warmth and compassion to those who were wealthy, not because of their family connection or their intelligence or their financial acumen or their social status, but because they too were the children of God. While the term poor in the gospel includes those who had little access to money and embraces all the oppressed who are dependent upon the mercy of others, it extends to all who rely entirely upon the mercy of God and accept the gospel of grace, the poor in spirit. Jesus' preference for little people and partiality toward ragamuffins is an irrefutable fact of the gospel. As the French philosopher Maurice Blondel said, if you really want to understand a man, don't just listen to what he says, but watch and see what he does. One of the mysteries of the gospel tradition is this very strange attraction of Jesus for the unattractive, this strange desire for the undesirable, the strange love for the unlovely. The key to this mystery is, of course, Abba. Jesus does what he sees the Father doing. He loves those whom the Father loves. In his reply to the disciples' question about who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, Jesus abolished any distinction between the elite and the ordinary in the Christian community. Jesus cuts to the heart of the matter when he speaks about suffering the little ones to come to him. And when he says, I tell you, unless you change and become like a child, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. The child is unselfconscious, incapable of pretense. The kingdom belongs to people who aren't trying to look good or impress anybody, even themselves. They're not plotting how they can call attention to themselves or worrying about their actions and how they will be interpreted or wondering if they will get gold stars for their behavior. Over 2,000 years later, Jesus speaks pointedly to the preening, aesthetic, trapped in the fatal narcissism of spiritual perfection. To those of us caught up in boasting about our victories in the vineyard. To those of us fretting and flapping about our human weaknesses and our character defects. The child doesn't have to struggle to get himself in a good position for having a relationship with God. He doesn't have to craft ingenious ways of explaining his position to Jesus. He doesn't have to create a pretty face for himself. He doesn't have to achieve any state of spiritual feeling or intellectual understanding. All he has to do is happily accept the gift of grace. When Jesus tells us to become like little children, he is inviting us to forget what lies behind. Whatever we have done in the past, be it good or evil, great or small, it is irrelevant to our stance before God today. It is only now in this moment, that we are in the presence of God, in this moment. The meaning of living in fidelity to the present moment, neither retreating to the past, nor anticipating the future, is wonderfully illustrated by the story about a monk being pursued by a ferocious tiger. And the monk raced to the edge of the cliff, and he glanced back, and he saw the growling tiger about to spring. And the monk spotted a rope dangling over the edge of the cliff, and he grabbed it, and he began sliding down the side of the cliff, out of the clutches of the tiger. Phew! Narrow escape. The monk then looked down and saw a quarry of jagged rocks 500 feet below. He looked up, and he saw the tiger poised atop of the cliff with bared claws. Just then, 2 mice began to nibble at the rope. What to do? The monk saw a strawberry within arm's reach, and it was growing just there out of the face of the cliff, and so he picked it, and he ate it, and he said, "Yum! That's the best strawberry I've ever tasted in my entire life." If he had been preoccupied with the rocks below, which was the future, or the tiger above, which was the past, he would have missed the strawberry that God was giving him in the present moment. Children do not focus on the tigers of the past or the future, but only on the strawberry that comes in the here and now. And so, Father God, help us to be like children, present moment by moment to the gifts of life. Amen.